inspiration.
I'm not going to ask you about the pet's name.
Yeah. I said he was the inspiration behind Crown Vet.
Welcome to Pupcast, the pet podcast. I'm your host, Upasana. In this series, we delve into the heart of pet care, exploring challenges, breakthroughs, and the amazing stories of passion that define this world. Each episode is going to bring us closer to the stories of the unsung heroes who work tirelessly to make a true difference in the lives of our furry companions. Welcome to the inaugural episode of this series of podcasts. Today we have a very special guest, Pratapsinh Gaekwad, who is the founder of Crown Vet. Pratap's journey from being an animal lover to the founder of a premier veterinary care brand is truly inspiring. And he's here with us today and he's going to talk all about it. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming, taking out time for us. Okay, so before I get into your journey into Crown Vet, I want to talk to you about your familiarity, love for animals.
Yeah, so I've grown up with animals and pets around me, highly influenced by my uncle, the late Maharaja of Baroda. And, he was a wildlife conservationist back in the 70s and 80s. And in Baroda, growing up, we even had a private zoo. So we had very close association with animals and a lot of exposure and understanding through conversations that I had with him. And obviously, as I grew up, we always had a pet in the house. It was a very pet sort of friendly space, and we were very, very sort of fond of them.
Yeah.
And that's something that, has sort of been the inspiration to sort of moving into this space.
Yeah. So only dogs, or are there more animals we should be knowing about?
I mean, we primarily had dogs, but occasionally we've had parrots, we've had bunny rabbits, and, small things, tortoises.
Oh, wow.
My uncle, in fact, used to have tortoises outside his office on the 17th floor in Nariman Point. And he even used to breed them up on the terrace.
Yeah.
He was alive. So, yeah.
So from being an animal lover, how did you get into opening Crown Vet?
Well, it was a personal experience, not a very good one, that sort of made me think that, whether we were getting the best treatment.
Yeah.
And I did a bit of homework in sort of studying, what was happening in the space. I also spoke to some of my friends to ask about their experience with their veterinarian.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I found that, there was an opportunity because I think infrastructure was lacking in those days.
Yes, it still is. It's slowly coming.
Yeah, it's improving, but it was much less in those days. So I thought that there was a space to do something here, and that's how we sort of got into this.
So I heard this story about how I think one of your pets was not well, and this was late in the night, and I don't think you could find a place to go, and that kind of brought in the idea of getting into this?
Correct, yeah. So we used to have good, the vets were good, and, to treat the regular stuff, there was never a problem.
Yeah.
But what I did realize is that when things got a bit more serious and critical, and in those circumstances, you could never sort of predict what time it would happen.
True.
So, and inevitably, the problems always happened at night when the clinics were shut.
Always.
So at that point of time, we were absolutely helpless because there was nowhere we could go. Because there was nobody running a 24-hour facility.
That's true. And I think it's still the only 24-hour facility, or there may be a couple of them more. But
I think now there are a couple more that are slowly sort of coming out. But I don't think anyone is doing it to the level that we are doing it. For how long that we have been doing it.
Yeah.
We've really set the protocols and systems in place to make sure that the inpatient care is really, really well dealt with.
So it's very amazing that I'm speaking to you today because back in 2018, I don't know why at 3 a.m. under my building, and I find a dog who's not really well, and that's when I took him to Crown Vet, and I still have him 6 years later with me as my pet in Delhi now. So that's amazing that I got to see you. When you initially started, what were you kind of looking into when you were forming your team of doctors and people working behind the scenes? What kind of qualities were you looking into that?
Well, firstly, it was, we didn't know much, actually, to be honest with you. So the first thing I did, because I knew that veterinary care was at a very advanced stage in the UK.
Yes, definitely.
So I immediately made a trip to the UK. I met up with some friends, and then I asked them to introduce me to their veterinarians.
Yeah.
And, I sort of learned from there that, I sort of picked up ideas from there. I even sort of visited the London Vet Show. I think it was in 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
And had a lot of conversations with practice owners. I also had a meeting with somebody who designed veterinary space.
Yeah.
So I picked up some of that knowledge, and I came back to India and started the first practice under the bridge in Mahalakshmi.
Yes.
So that was the first practice. It was a large space, 4,500 square feet. Again, because we didn't know what the efficient size was, but I thought, big space would mean better services, etc.
Yeah.
And that's how we started.
Yeah. Veterinary care is still really evolving in our country, as you see, and there's a big difference between the human healthcare and other living beings' healthcare. So, what kind of challenges do you face when it comes to running such a big organization now?
I think the most important thing, obviously, is recruitment. Right?
Yes.
You have to be able to recruit good doctors, good people, in order to give the quality of service. One of the things we do focus on is infrastructure, but we find that to be very easy. That's not a challenge for us anymore. We get a property, we're able to turn it around in about 34 days and be ready for work. But to place the right veterinarians, to have them ready to face the clients, as well as to deal with the patients, that's really the challenge.
Yeah.
And that's where the bottleneck to growth really is.
And are you getting qualified doctors, and what do we need to do as a country to get the right quality or education when it comes to education?
Yeah, so we have a couple of good veterinary colleges, but what we find is that they're still more focused towards large animal husbandry, because that's the need for India.
Main need, yeah.
So there's very little, education or training to teach the young doctors as to what they need to do in private practice.
True.
So while they're very knowledgeable, but when they first come out, they have no idea as to how a private practice works.
Yeah.
They don't understand the importance of dealing with the client.
Yeah.
They first go straight and look to the patient. They don't want to talk to the client.
Also, it's a challenge to talk to pet owners today.
It is, but you can't run away from it, right? I mean, that's the challenge.
Yeah.
So that's where I find it lacking. And what we have been doing in Crown Vet for many years now is, trying to effectively train people. So we have already been investing in training, whether it is for the nursing training, whether it is for training the young doctors. And now in our next phase, there is going to be, or there already is, a huge investment and focus on training.
Okay.
When I speak to people and they ask me what are the things that you're going to focus on, I always say that there are 3 important things that I'm going to be doing in the next couple of years. And that is training, training, and training.
I think that's called for, yeah. So, so how would you say Crown Vet as a clinic, or how is it different from, what are you giving different to the pet owners that other clinics are not yet providing?
I think as we started, one of the things, like I said, focus area was the infrastructure.
Yes.
As a result of infrastructure, we talk about the services.
Yes.
So when we come to services, we have an OT, we have imaging, so we have X-rays, ultrasound. We have, all our clinics have a registered pharmacy.
Yeah.
We also have inpatient care, which is something that we focus.
Which a lot of clinics don't have. Yeah.
And as a result of that, because you have inpatient care, you have to run 24/7.
Yeah.
And the natural fallout of that is that we also have emergency services.
Yes.
So all our clinics going forward are going to be run on a 24-hour basis.
Oh, wow. All of them?
All of them. I mean, already I think 6 of our clinics, or 8 of them, are already 24 hours.
Wow.
So going forward, the plan is every clinic should be 24 hours.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of pet owners don't want to spend as much on healthcare with their pets, and that whole concept is not yet coming. So what would you kind of want to explain to them so that they understand where all that is coming from?
See, common complaint we hear about is that Crown Vet is very expensive.
Yes.
Now, we try to make it as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
The fact is, we have costs, we can't run away from it.
Yes.
Now, obviously, the costs of running a veterinary practice are sort of broken up into the rent, the salaries of the doctors and the staff, and the services that we provide.
Yeah.
Now, Crown Vet, what we have always worked on is we should be sort of a diagnostic-based practice. So we believe in, doing the bloods, we believe in doing x-rays, etc.
Yeah.
Now, the minute you do all of these things, the bill does add up.
Yeah. As a pet owner, I don't get that at a lot of clinics.
Yeah. If you want to sort of get to the root of the problem, diagnostics is the way forward.
Yeah.
And also what happens with us is that because we have all of these services, you might come into us, you do certain things, then we have a medical pharmacy, you'll pick up a few products from there. And by the time you're done, you look at your bill, you're suddenly like, wow, I spent so much at a veterinary practice before. So it's because of so many things, and in some other practices, I won't say all of them, you'll have the basic stuff. So you go in, you do basic treatment, and then you not spend much because you don't have pharmacy, etc., etc. So there is a difference in that. And what we try to do is, and what we work with the reception team, is to try and explain the bill to the clients while they're paying so that they get a better understanding of where the money's gone.
And have you had any difficulties in explaining this to the pet owners? I bet you have some crazy stories to share with us.
Yeah, I mean, we have crazy stories, and there's been a lot of learning from these stories. When we analyze the complaints that we also get, what I find is that it's really happened because of two things. One is a lack of proper communication with the client. And therefore, they haven't understood what we try to do, and then they're unhappy.
Yeah.
They go to another veterinary practice, and then they give them some story, and then that escalates the problem. Yeah. The second thing is obviously the pricing. They find that it's very expensive. So people, there's always these comments about how it's expensive, it's a money-making racket, etc. So these are the most sort of common this thing. Now, what we've tried to do in order to sort of address these problems also is that we have a focused client services department.
Okay.
And that department works out of our head office, but also has a nominee in the clinic. So we have a client services person in the clinic. Now, the idea of having that person there is that he is the representative of the client. That's how I look at it.
Okay.
And what we are trying to do is that he's the one who needs to also build up a relationship with the clients.
True.
So that if you have a problem or if you're unclear about something, then he should be your first port of call.
Yeah.
That, this is happening. I have an issue here. Can this be resolved? So that's something that we're working on. And then he coordinates with the head office and maybe with the CEO of the company to see what the issue is and how we can sort of address it.
Yeah. As a pet owner myself, I think one thing which I really look forward is to the personal touch, the personal connection with my vet.
Yeah.
So does that seem to be a problem at Crown Vet because it's so professionally directed that I don't have that person, like if I have an issue, I'll just call my vet up or I can text him. Does that kind of hinder or come in the way?
It shouldn't do that because, the process that we follow is that when you have your consultation, you are in a room with your pet and the doctor.
Yeah.
So that should give you the opportunity to build the bond gradually.
True.
It's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah.
But, that environment should help you, sort of build the bond. Now, coming to your question about, accessibility.
Yes.
Now, we are very particular that we never give out the doctor's contact details to the clients. If you want to speak to anybody, you need to call the receptionist.
Okay.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
I mean, and we support that also because the clinic is 24 hours.
True.
And you've got to understand that the doctors also need a life. They need an escape as well.
Yeah.
And this is, in fact, a problem some of the smaller clinics face, that when you start doing that, then when you stop answering the phone call of the client, that's a bigger problem to have.
That's true, yeah.
So what we say is that, you might not be able to access the particular doctor, but you can access the clinic. And what the clinic has is obviously there will be another doctor on duty. And the clinic has all your medical records.
Yeah.
So the doctor, even if your primary vet is not there, he has access to all the treatments that have happened and he knows that your primary doctor might have put on there.
Yeah.
So that makes it easier for him to get involved and take up that case.
Okay. Now, along with pets, India faces a crazy problem of strays, and some of the other dog is, injured, getting hit. And a lot of people, I think there are a lot of good people today working tirelessly, endlessly, without any remuneration or nothing, and working for them. And what if they get their animal to crown vet? What is the procedure?
So there are many people and organizations that we actually work with who are in the space. And, these are people who are bringing patients to us that are either from the street, but they're not their own personal pet.
Yes, exactly.
They are sort of working that space. So it's a culmination of people who are handling many of them. There would also be some registered NGOs.
Yes.
So what we do is if that's you, then we normally ask you to sort of, come meet the client services person, explain what you want to do. And then we have a discussion around, what are the discount facilities that we could provide you.
Okay.
And thereafter we take it forward.
Just to make sure that there's some credibility to the person who's doing it. Yeah.
And because, it's very important for us that somebody has to hold accountability for the patient.
True.
From the owner's point of view.
Yeah. Now, you're already in 5 different cities, right? Or 6 different.
5 cities.
Okay, wow. And now what are the future plans of CrownVet? Where are you taking it? Where are you planning to take it?
Well, like I said, the first thing that we are going to be doing is putting a huge amount of investment into training.
Okay.
Having done that, phase 1 is going to be to expand in the cities that we already are.
Yes.
As part of the training, I'm also trying to set up a teaching hospital in CrownVet, etc., so that training can further be given in a working environment. So those are the short-term plans. Now, the training that we are sort of giving is something that is also going to happen internationally.
Yes.
So today we have options where we are able to send people to the UK. We are already sending people to Dubai. We're in conversation with some practices in Singapore. So we're also setting up training for the junior veterinarians in these international sort of scenarios where they get exposure to live cases. They're able to see how doctors deal with clients in those countries, etc. With the view to, provide them that level of training and for them to see how things work at a much sort of higher quality and level. The other training that we're going to do is obviously for our senior veterinarians. They already have practical knowledge, but the next step is that where do we take them? Who are the people who want to specialize into certain areas?
True.
So that's something that we will work with them and again sort of place them in international scenarios where they get the best of that.
Yeah.
And are able to come back and sort of, give that sort of learning to our patients.
Yeah. I think this is so important that you're sharing this because I know a lot of people want to probably choose this field, but I don't think they have the right kind of places to go to which will take it ahead and the right kind of setup. And I'm so glad that you're bringing this in.
Yeah, so this is important. It's again about trying to create, a sort of career.
Exactly.
That's what I'm trying when we recruit. That's what I'm trying to explain to our people that we're trying to create a career.
Yes.
Now, again, one of the things that happens is everybody wants everything very quickly. And I tell them that, your career has to span over 40 years.
Yes.
You can't do everything in 3 years. So, experience also has a tremendous amount of value.
Yes.
As much as I might teach you, but your own experience is going to make you better.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're working with the doctors that come to us. And that's something that I believe, in fact, personally very passionately about. And, I see that, doctors are doing so well in the human space. And I see no reason why we can't have the best veterinarians, to match the global standards in India as well. But in order to do that, we need to give them access to better infrastructure, better training and development.
Yes.
Which hasn't been there before.
Yes.
And that's something that, we are excited to sort of introduce.
I think that's great. And also I think as this progresses, awareness to pet owners to actually visit clinics and get their pets checked also needs to build up in the same way so that both can grow together. It's hand in hand.
Yeah. There's a lot of education even the pet owner needs to do.
Yeah.
From starting with the basic stuff, it's like do your vaccinations. Preventative care. That's something that, again, I'm very passionate about and I don't feel shy to push that agenda.
Yes.
To be aggressive and talk to the clients to say that, listen, you need to have your vaccinations. You need to check your teeth.
Yes. All the pet owners message
the
for you.
dentals.
Yes.
Do your neutering and spaying. You know, it takes away a lot of issues that might come in future. So we try to do that. And like I said, I even tell our doctors, you have to do it. Push, push, push. I'm not shy of that because I see the benefit for the patient.
Any plans of doing a drive to neuter and spay all the strays? Anything you're thinking of in that line?
You know, not really at this point of time because, again, you know, our teams are already sort of stretched.
True.
But as we grow and we have doctors available, I think that's something that we will do, and it can be also part of the training initiative.
That's amazing. One of the questions I personally wanted to ask you was like, how from a pet owner and nothing to really do with dogs into healthcare, how did you manage to get into founding Crown Vet? How did that come into being?
Well, it was really to do with a personal experience that I had with my own pet.
Okay.
You know, at that time, I had a Great Dane.
Wow.
A Harlequin by the name of Chevy. And Chevy was, extremely, he's the one dog that I've had the strongest bond with.
They're gentle giant.
Yeah, gentle giant. And, you know, his eyes, you know, I should just look at him, and we used to have a conversation even without speaking.
Yes.
He knew what I was thinking. I knew what he was thinking. It's like very instinctive. So he was really the inspiration. And when he was unwell, he actually went in for a routine surgery. Surgery went well. Everything was fine. But immediately post-surgery, you know, he came out of the OT. He was put into a bed sheet, and 4 people carried him on the bed sheet, put him into the car. And he hadn't really even come out of the anesthesia.
And they sent him back.
Yeah, and they sent him home because there was no inpatient care, or there was no place to keep the patient.
I'm not going to ask you about the vet's name.
Yeah, no. So, so any case, so, you know, so when I had to deal with that situation, to see the pet that you love so much, and you're kind of helpless because you're the nurse.
Yes.
And then through that process, you know, the bandages would come off. So I used to struggle with, you know, bandaging. And I felt extremely helpless. And I really thought that, you know, one could do a better job. So that was really when it sort of dawned upon me, and it pushed me to say that, listen, do something about it rather than just talk or whatever. You know, you have an opportunity. Why not try and do something?
Wow.
So that was what sort of pushed me into it.
Nice. And any current dogs now?
Yeah, so I have a Shih Tzu by the name
From a Great Dane to a Shih Tzu.
Yeah. So when I had the Great Dane, it was really, it was me and my wife. But now we have 2 young children. Yes. So we had to be, you know, a little conscious of that, even though I normally would prefer a larger dog. But
they're calmer. The larger ones are calmer. The small ones are really hyper. I had 2 Lhasas myself.
Yeah, but, you know, we've been lucky with him. I was fingers crossed. But he's, you know, he's very calm.
Yeah.
He's very good with the children. I mean, they are aggressive with him. Sometimes I can sit on him, pull his tails here. But not once has he even sort of snapped back at them. So that's what we've been very
lucky
with him. Only thing is he's got hair as well. So he's very scruffy. And
So your logo is very distinctive. I've heard that your dog Chevy had something to do with it.
Yeah, in fact, he has everything to do with it. You know, like I said, he was the inspiration behind Crown Vet. And I was very clear that there must be some DNA of Chevy as part of that. And so while we were designing the logo, I sort of shared a photograph of him. And strangely, it just worked out perfectly that, you know, if you see the face on the logo of Crown Vet, that's actually Chevy.
That's adorable.
Yeah. So.
Yep. Thank you so much, Pratap, for joining us and sharing all this. I think it's going to get everyone in this field, related to this field, really involved. And I think it's going to give a higher understanding to all the vets out there, what is coming for them, the pet owners, maybe more awareness about pet healthcare. Thank you so much for that. Catch us on Pupcast for many more stories about amazing heroes who are doing great work in this field.